Hey guys, Marsinkin here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and it is the beginning of a new month, so I'm going to make this a monthly thing now to do a couple of tier lists. I'm going to do the top 5 LRs and top 5 TUR EZAs. I might introduce some other ones if you guys have any sort of suggestions. Those are kind of the two main ones that people talk about the most. I guess we could do TURs overall or TURs not including EZAs as well. But let me know what you guys think down below. Personally, I prefer doing top 5s as opposed to top 10s. Just because I think it's interesting to see the difference between the units that are in the top 5, and then once it drops below, then I think a lot of those units are kind of interchangeable in those places, especially when it comes to different teams that they can be run on. So I don't really put a huge amount of thought into like everything below 5. Like, I know some people have like a top 20, even top 30, like, and I can't be bothered with that, right? So top 5. I'm going to try not to repeat all the same things over and over in every single one of these that I make. But I do want to stress, again, as I've done in the previous ones, that obviously this tier list is my opinion. Now, I'm sure, you know, as most people do with their opinions, I feel like the reasons that I'm going to give to back up my opinions, they make sense, at least to me. I at least feel like each one of these opinions is defendable, and I'm not just like being overly biased or whatever. If you don't agree, that's perfectly fine. You know, feel free to disagree in the comments and explain why you disagree. Just, you know, be civil about it. We don't have to agree on these kind of things, and it's always good to have spirited discussion. You know, I even have changed my mind on things like this before by debating it with people, but you know, that kind of thing always goes better when it's good-natured and civil. And like I said, I feel like I have good reasonings for why I have the placements that I have. So it's always kind of annoying when you put out lists and stuff like this, and then people will just reply and say like, oh, you know, this list is trash, or like stupid opinion, skull emoji or something, but they don't actually give any like clarification on what exactly they think is wrong or what it is they disagree with. So if you do disagree, let me know why, and I'm more than happy to discuss it with you guys. So we're going to go for a couple of the honourable mentions first. One of which is definitely going to give away a change in the tier from last time. I guess I could start by showing the tier list from last month, so I guess let me know if you guys would like that to be a thing at the beginning. I'm not sure. Obviously, if we have a month where not many new LRs release, then I guess it's kind of a spoiler, right? Because not a lot of it's going to change. So maybe I won't do that, but let me know what you guys think down below. But in terms of honourable mentions, these are obviously ones that I would consider to be in the top 10, but not in the top 5. First up, we have LR Janemba. Now, last time I put LR Goku and Gohan at number 5, and a lot of people in the comments said that they thought Janemba should be in the number 5 spot instead, and I can see why. I mean, both of those units, whilst they don't do the same things, they're kind of at a similar level. It's just that one is on the extreme teams, right, and the other one is on the super team. So depending on which ones you run more, you know, one of them is probably going to be more valuable to you than the other. The Goku and Gohan obviously benefit greatly from the release of the Tech LR Super Saiyan Goku, and the Janemba benefited heavily from the release of the STR LR Cooler. So both of them kind of have a new lease of life in the game at the moment, both very good, being run alongside those new units. So I can see them kind of being at an even level. It's just at the time, I was so impressed with Goku and Gohan finally getting that slot 1 partner they needed with Tech Goku that I hit them at number 5. I probably would have had Janemba at number 6. So he's in an honourable mention section. Obviously, I still think he's very good. I sadly did not manage to pull any dupes for mine, so mine is still only 69%. Still very good. When he's built up, you know, decent attack stats, obviously good defense, nullifies Ki Blast super attacks with 50% chance. So overall, very good. Key links are a bit of an issue. If you have to put him in slot 1 early on, then it means you can't get him to build up, which can also be an issue. But overall, I think he's a very good unit. Next up, we have Goku and Gohan. So obviously, there's a bit of a spoiler that they are no longer at number 5. But yeah, Goku and Gohan, very, very good. Like I said, work very well with the Tech Super Saiyan Goku. Obviously, they can be run on the Super Saiyan Goku and Super Saiyan Vegeta team, although they don't get the 200% lead. Just overall very good. I was lucky enough to rainbow them from my summons, And yeah, very, very powerful. They now have that perfect slot 1 partner. So this unit is definitely very fun. And it's just a cool card anyway, right? The first kind of... Well, it's not really the first one, I guess, but like the true what-if scenario kind of card. The active skill animation is super cool. So I just like this card quite a lot. And then the last honourable mention, which I'm sure is going to get some people a little bit riled up, because I think some people would probably have this unit in the top 5. We have the Super Saiyan Goku and Super Saiyan Vegeta. So the reason why this unit is not in the top 5 for me, and of course I perfectly recognise that it could be just down to my experience that I've had. Mine is only 55%, but I have obviously used like Rainbow Friends and stuff like that. This unit is very oddly designed to me. They have a very good leader skill, which will be very good. They have good super attack effects, but just their design is very strange. Like, the morale boost, you have to be attacked 7 times and super attacked 3 times. In the early turns, they get that extra damage reduction, but in some of the more difficult events, you don't really want to put them in slot 1. Like one of the examples, doing the stage with the army of metal coolers, where you just fight wave after wave of metal coolers. I didn't get one of them get the morale boost until like turn 9 or something, because I didn't want to put them in slot 1 where there was a ton of attacks. But then there was only ever like 1 or 2 attacks in slot 2, which of course very RNG related, but they definitely get much better after their morale boost. But my personal experience with them has been that pre-morale boost, I've just been, I guess, unlucky with them getting additionals. My general experience has just been them getting 1 super attack and then not getting the additional super from their passive or the hidden potential. And then honestly, they are not impressive defensively. Now, I realise, of course, that one of the units that I have very high up is kind of similar, right? Where not as good if they don't get all their additionals. But with some of the support and everything that have released around some of these units, I feel like it's not as much of an issue for that unit. I mean, you guys probably know who I'm talking about already. But this unit, I just feel, I don't know, very underwhelmed. For me personally, I mean, considering the fact, you know, you can kind of tell they're probably all going to be in the top 5, right? Since none of them are in the honourable mentions. I personally think that this unit is the most underwhelming out of the 4 worldwide download celebration LRs. So let me know what you guys think. I'm sure, you know, not everyone agrees. I know a lot of people do like this unit, but just my personal experience, I have not found this unit to be that good or that fun to run even. I mean, their animations are cool, don't get me wrong, but overall just very underwhelmed by this unit. So with that, we move on to number 5. And number 5 is the physical metal cooler. So I put him just above the Super Saiyans. Personally, I really like this unit. I think people are surprised, myself included, with how he turned out performance-wise, because everybody really wanted him to be like an unkillable slot 1 tank that you could run LR Cooler next to, and I think a lot of people were disappointed when his details were released and he wasn't exactly that. But having actually had the experience of using him, he is a very solid slot 1 unit still. Whilst he's obviously not, you know, you can't just put him in slot 1 and he'll guaranteed survive any attacks from the toughest bosses, but he does have the revival mechanic. Now, one thing I find very similar to units like Majin Vegeta, STR Goku and Gohan, a couple of these other units, I personally find him much better and much more effective when you're only running one of them on the team. So currently I like to run my Wicked Bloodline team with him as the leader, and then I just run STR Cooler on the team and then an STR Cooler friend, because having 2 STR Coolers is obviously good. But the reason behind that is obviously you can only get the 1 revival. So there's no point having 2 of them on the team anyway. But one thing I have found in my experience of using him is, especially when he's built up after he's received his attacks, he still tanks very well. I'm in the process of putting together clips. I only have 1 more stage to do. I got very unlucky today with the RNG. But I so far have no itemed all of the Wicked Bloodline Red Zone stages with the Wicked Bloodline team. And that revival is very useful, but even without it, like when he's built up, he can tank very well in slot 1. And then I think the part that makes it so surprising is he can fulfill that role of being a slot 1 tank, but linked up with LR Metal Cooler, even without support, fully built up, like at Rainbow level 10 links, he's doing like 10 million attack stat, which For how good he is defensively, especially after supering, I am personally very impressed with his overall performance. And then, of course, he has the active skill when you've been hit 7 times, where you do a bunch of damage and you also recover a ton of HP. Him having the healing at the start and end of the turn if he gets hit is really, really good. End of turn healing is super useful for the Wicked Bloodline team for helping to keep the golden freezers with their damage reduction. So overall, I think this Metal Cooler is very, very good, and I am overall very impressed. His animations are awesome. He obviously has the 70% chance to nullify unarmed super attacks, which can be very useful. The first 2 phases of Red Zone Broly are an unarmed super attack, so overall I think he is very, very good. So then we move on to number 4. Number 4 is the Super Saiyan 4s. I mean, spoiler alert, number 3 is the gods, right? On global, I don't really think there's an LR that I would put in between these two. I toyed with the idea of putting Metal Cooler in between them, just because of how much I enjoy running this unit at the moment. Because unfortunately, the Super Saiyan 4s, these two units are very, very similar. I talked about this in the previous tier list because I think I had them next to each other in the last one as well. The units themselves are very, very similar. They only have those minor differences once they've transformed. The Super Saiyan 4s, of course, fuse into Gogeta and they have damage reduction, and then these guys transform into Super Saiyan Blue and they have dodge. You can argue either way about which one of those particular setups you think is better, but the reason why I feel like the gods have pulled ahead of the Super Saiyan 4s, and don't get me wrong, day 1, even, you know, as a global player, even technically before day 1 when the anniversary came to global, because we'd already seen them on JP, personally I prefer this unit. I like Super Saiyan 4 more than Super Saiyan God as a form. I like their animations more than the Super Saiyan Gods. I think their 18 key super and Gogeta's active skill are 2 of my favourite animations in the game. But the biggest problem is their teams. So Fused Fighters or GT Heroes. Now Fusion, well, because Fused Fighters includes Fusion and Potara. Fused Fighters gets buffs fairly regularly, right? Big ticket celebrations. We see new Gogetas and Vegetos every now and then. Heroes this year is supposedly going to be Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. Now if he is a godly slot 1 tank that is also doing decent damage and potentially even providing support, that is going to be a massive buff for these guys. But the problem is, GT Heroes is not a category that gets updated very often, and Fused Fighters, whilst it does have some of those big ticket characters, it doesn't get updated that often really either anyway. Whereas we look at these guys, and I mean literally during this celebration we had 2 new LRs release that will go on their team. We've already seen the preview for the JP next Dokkan Fest is the Path to Power Kid Goku, who technically should be on Movie Heroes as well, and obviously based on the animation that everyone's been retweeting that we want to see him have, he'll be on Kamehameha as well, so he'll be on their 200% lead. So regardless of how close you think these 2 units are in a direct comparison, the gods' leader skill has just put them so far ahead, in my opinion, than the Super Saiyan 4s, even though, like I say, I personally like the Super Saiyan 4s more. So, I mean, I try to be unbiased as much as possible. Like I say, I prefer the Super Saiyan 4s in terms of which unit I have the most fun running, but I feel like the leader skill just puts these guys way further ahead, to the point, like, so many buffs they've gotten recently. And of course, at some point in the near future, we're going to get the Dragon Ball Super superhero stuff, you know, Orange Piccolo, Beast Gohan, and they're all going to be on the God's leader skill as well, because they're on Movie Heroes. I guess technically the Piccolo could be on Fused Fighters, because some of the later Piccolos are obviously on there, because of course by this point he's fused with Nail and Kami, so I guess Piccolo could be on here, but Beast Gohan is going to be on their leader skill as well. So the gods very firmly sitting above the Super Saiyan 4s in the number 2 slot. So then we get to the top 2. Now, this one is going to cause some disagreements with some people, I'm sure. Now, the thing is, this has not changed since my previous month's tier list. Although, I think if I'd done this list before the STR TUR Coolers EZA, it actually might have changed. Because I still have Tech Super Saiyan Goku at number 2 and Cooler at number 1. Now, I went back and forth with a lot of people. There was a lot of discussion in the community. Shout out to Zahal, a lot of back and forth with him. Now, I do agree that Tech Super Saiyan Goku is more consistent. There will forever be the debate in the community about whether defense or offense is more important. I made a comment to someone today that I think kind of sums it up, at least I think, pretty well, which is the fact that nowadays they are pretty much equal in importance, right? Because people are beating events like Cell Max, Red Zone Broly, Red Zone Omega with teams that are just full on damage and just like destroying the enemy before they get a chance to die. And then of course, you know, I think Minato, shout out to him, did a video beating Cell Max with like a full turtle defensive hybrids team. So both options are viable and both of them have their weaknesses, right? Like full offense, you can get caught out and die. Full defense, the longer it takes to beat an event, the more likely you are that the one unit that you really don't want to get hit by a super gets hit by a super. So there's drawbacks and positives to both. So I can agree that Goku can be a little bit more reliable. And he's another unit that I should have mentioned earlier, but he's another unit that I think is way better when there's only one of them. I talked about this in the last tier list as well when explaining his drawbacks, but when you run his lead with double Gokus, only one of them can revive, which means that when the other one is on rotation and you're below 59% HP, they don't have their guard, but then they also can't revive because you can only revive once. I feel like that is a major flaw that they overlooked potentially in the design, that when you have a leader of a team that is meant to revive, because obviously after he revives, he has guaranteed guard and a built-in 50% chance to crit. So you want him to revive at some point during the event, because then he's better after he's revived. But if you're running his team, only one of the Gokus can actually revive during the event. So I think that is a little bit of an unfortunate thing in his design. But also I really don't like Powerful Comeback as a lead. Powerful Comeback obviously has some very good units on it, and you can make a very good team build, but it's very restrictive. I feel like there's only really one sort of main build, and you can kind of change one or two units here and there, but other than that, it's very restrictive, which I'm not a huge fan of. But, I mean, this guy is very, very good, and I said this in the previous list as well. Not only is this obviously just my opinion, but if your opinion is that Goku is number 1 and Cooler is number 2, then, you know, I'm fine. I can see the arguments for that, right? But for me, Cooler is number 1. And as I said, the Easy A for TUR STR Cooler has cemented this guy as number 1 for me. As I say, with the discussions that were going on, some of the back and forth I had, especially with Zahal, I could have accepted that Goku would be number 1 just based on consistency and reliability. And if I'd made that tier list before the Easy A for Cooler, I might have actually conceded that he was number 1. However, with the release of the Easy A for STR Cooler, this guy has become an absolute monster. 50% support from that Cooler means that when he's fully built up, his start of turn defense, which is his biggest weakness, right? Everybody's biggest criticism of STR Cooler on release is that whilst he can put out a ton of damage, if you get unlucky with his additionals and you don't get any 12 key supers, then his defense is not particularly good. However, the STR Cooler takes care of that issue completely, because not only is he sharing good links with him, like Big Bad Boss's Thirst for Conquest, he also is giving him 50% support. So I've seen screenshots, I've shown it off in videos myself. This Cooler fully built up with support, he can have like 600k defense at the start of the turn, or more. Which, you know, completely removes the number 1 drawback that he had. And when he is fully built up, after he's attacked 10 times, he gets a guaranteed additional super. So after the first super, which presumably is going to be an 18 key at that point because he gets extra key, he then does a guaranteed 12 key super, and then at that point you're like potentially over 800k defense. And then on his best turn, where he's putting out multiple additional 12 key supers, he gets to over 1 million defense. I posted a tweet the other day. Unfortunately, I don't have the clip because it was when I was trying to record I think it was when I was trying to do the Janemba showcase on Cell Max. I had the turn where he got 4 additional 12 key supers. It might have been 3. It was 3 or 4. And then he lived a super attack from Cell Max, which there's like 1% or less units in the game can survive a super attack from Cell Max. Especially, I think there are no other units in the game that can do the kind of damage that Cooler can do, that can also build up to having like over 1 million defense. It is RNG related, and as I say, I can perfectly understand, like, if your experience with him, if you have him at 55%, you don't have the TUR Cooler, you get unlucky with the RNG for the additionals, then I could understand people not seeing him as number 1. But with the experience that I've had, I mean, go check out the video that I did with the... I made a video that was essentially called Wicked Bloodline might be the best team in the game right now. And during that run, fully built up Cooler with 2 perfectly viable support units, being the TUR EZA Cooler and Cooliza, who I think at that point was built up to having about 500 or 600k defense himself. This LR Cooler put out a 19 million attack stat with his 18 key super, and then all of his additionals were like 12 or 13 or something like that. And of course, by getting even just 2 supers, he was over 1 million defense. So this guy's absolutely insane. His active skill is ridiculous. If you crit on his active skill, you can do like 12 to 15 million damage, depending on whether you have support on the rotation. Also cancels out the action, which can actually be very useful. So overall, this guy's just absolutely insane. Wicked Bloodline is by far my favourite team to run in the game as of the moment. And yeah, this guy is 100% solidified in the number 1 spot for me, thanks to the EZA for STR Cooler. So let me know what you guys think down below. This is the look of the tier list with the honourable mentions in it for October. As I said at the beginning, I'm going to do these in the first couple of days of the month, each month. The only time I will potentially delay one of them, or maybe release them in a different order, is if we know a unit is about to come out. Like, for example, Pan is going to come out in a couple of days. If that was an LR, for example, I would maybe delay the release of the LR tier list until the new LR comes out, because otherwise, obviously, I'm not going to do another one until the beginning of November. So let me know what you guys think down below. What is your top 5 LR list? Who would be your honourable mentions? What are your opinions on my picks? Like I said, I feel like the reasoning I give for my placements, it makes sense to me. Even if you don't agree, I'm sure you can at least see where I'm coming from. And so let me know your thoughts on my placements down below in the comment section. And let me know what your top 5 LRs on Global looks like as of the beginning of October. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.